Today we're going to talk about why the book was changed a while ago and why I took down the public lobby exceptions video from a while ago. There's some reasons why this had to be done, which I'm going to explain today. I'm going to explain in detail for each one of these, but before I do that, I want to just go over them generally. Now, let me show you what it used to look like recently. As you can see here, it says do not do these in public. We changed this from the initial format because we had the mindset of, hey, you're not exposing other people to what you're doing, so it's not a big issue. Now, that's wrong for two reasons, because one, the person is still doing it, so they're still sinning, and then two, just because it's private, it doesn't mean there aren't other people there. So the mindset, the disease would still be spread. So this had to be changed. Another reason I changed it is because if you saw an avatar with the two books out, like the ones that float, if you were to read that side first, you wouldn't see the left side that says do not do these, right? So stupid people, I'm assuming they'd be doing it ironically. They'd read the right side and they'd be like, oh, I should be or look lewd, I should simp for white knight. So I made it idiot proof. And again, now it's back to its original format, so I think this is cleaner. If you were simply to look at the original one, on either side, it would say do not, do not, do not. And I think it's just better this way, in every way, really. Now that we've gone over that in a general sense, I like to go over these one by one, and why I think I have a pretty good case, and I think you will agree with me. One last thing before I get into it. A huge reason why this had to be changed is because I brought up a very good point with someone where if a person were to do some of these even in private, but then not do them in public, like, would that be allowable, especially if it was like a friend of ours or a crusader? Wouldn't that make them a hypocrite, and wouldn't that make us look bad for allowing it? This is what I think. So this is why this format is proper, and like I'm going to discuss today, some of these shouldn't even be done in private, regardless of the instance. I mean, even if it's like, for example, like being a furry in a furry lobby, I don't think that should be allowable either, because, furries are disgusting, and the whole thing is just drenched in sin and degeneracy. Anyway, let's go over them one by one, and I will try and state my case clearly. But before I do, just one last look. Again, this is the old version here, so let's go back to the good old times and the good, glorious original format. Now, here's the first one. Do not trap or cross-gender. So like I said earlier, what kind of crusader would a person be if they went to public lobbies and preached like we did in the guy avatars, and then went to private lobby and used a girl one? Like, it doesn't make any sense. One, there's no reason to do it, and two, it's pure hypocrisy. If someone's going to do that, then they're not a real crusader, and they're not a real man either. The truth of the matter is, the soy has still consumed them. So, this is not allowable. This is definitely one of the ones we can never allow. And before I move on to the next one, I have to say, some of these, whether it's public or private, we don't generally care about some of these, like, so much. Like, the avatar ones are extremely important. So we will not allow anyone, like our friends, peers, etc., to trap or cross-gender, use furry avatars, or be or look lewd. Like, those are the extreme offenders that we could just literally never allow, and for good reason. So, just so you people watching know, on the topic of all this hypocrisy and all this bullshit, just know this: some of these we don't really mind. Let me just make an example. Like, if one of our friends occasionally drank, smoked, or vaped around us, we wouldn't really care. Like, no one's perfect, right? And, like, some people do some of these things. It's no big deal. Like, do you think I'm gonna care if you occasionally go to a stage and sing or play music? No, of course not. Now, some of these aren't allowable, but like I just said, some of them, generally, we just don't care. Obviously, we're not going to do it consistently, and no one should be doing it consistently anyway, but if they just sometimes do it, it's no big deal. Moderation, right? However, going back to what I was saying earlier, some of these, there's no exceptions, like the avatar ones. For no reason, you as a guy should be trapping or cross-gendering. Plain and simple. Now, let's go to the next one. So, mirror dwelling. Now, I don't really think the lobby type matters. I don't know why you do this. I don't think this should be a rule where you can do this in private, and then not do it in public. You shouldn't be doing it in either instance. So for the mirror thing, yeah, we're not going to make an exception here. It doesn't matter where you are. Now, I understand if you're looking at an avatar you made, or you're looking for details on it, even in private or public, doesn't matter. Like, if you're thoroughly inspecting an avatar because it was recently done, then I get it. I understand that. That's an exception, but that's not really mirror dwelling. Like, you wouldn't be doing that for that long. Like, the people who are in front of mirrors these days are there for hours in the same avatar that's probably not even theirs. So it's like, you can't compare the two. So, unless you're inspecting your avatar, there should be none of this. There should be no mirror dwelling, really. So, that one does not get a pass. Unfortunately, it does not. Now, let's go to the full body thing, shall we? Now, does it matter? Like, our complaints is, like, being lazy and looking ridiculous. Sure, in private you won't look ridiculous, because I suppose no one's there to see you, although some people might be there anyway, you get the point, but, you're still lazy. You're still losing yourself to full body. Like, whether you're in public or private, you're still, losing yourself to dancing, ERPing, or just being lazy, as this picture shows, you know? And the truth of the matter is, I really don't think it should be allowable anywhere, and with that being said, despite that, I don't think it's too big of an issue. So it's like, this one gets a slight pass. If you do it occasionally, like, we're not gonna care. It's not like, how do you say, it's not intrinsically, like, immoral, right? Sure, you're a little lazy and you look fucking stupid, but it's really not that bad. So that one gets a slight pass. Although, I still never recommend full body to anybody for any reason. Now let's keep going. So the drinking, or the drinking, smoking, vaping, like I said earlier, yeah, if you do it occasionally, we're not really going to care. It's not a huge thing. You shouldn't be doing this IRL, obviously, or in-game, if that makes any sense. Like, you shouldn't be sitting down at your station, like with your VR setup, and have your smokes and drinking ready. And again, this shouldn't be done in public or private. I don't care what your excuse is. There's no meaning for it. Most of these private lobbies, these quote-unquote private lobbies, are going to be filled with people. It's going to be like private group drinking nights and stuff like that. Not acceptable. Unfortunately, we can't give this one a pass. I hate to break it to you. The being mute thing, let me tell you, yeah, the being mute thing, what difference does it make? Like, what difference does it make what lobby type you're in? If you're in public or private, I think it'd be even more stupid to be mute in, like, private alone, because it's like, I mean, obviously you're not going to be talking to yourself, but it's like, what's the point of even being online? You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to be mute in private, you're going to be mute in public. I don't know if that makes any sense the way I explained it, but yeah, nothing changes. You're still deceiving people, and you're still playing a game you shouldn't be playing. Like, if you're not willing to talk to strangers, VRChat is not for you. Now, before I move on to the next one, I just want to say, you can associate with these people, with any of these people sometimes. Like, for example, you know, maybe someone would just have a mute companion. That wouldn't make them a hypocrite necessarily, because they're not doing it. The other person's doing it. Now, their actions aren't necessarily condoned just because they're there, right? So you can't really compare them, but I wouldn't really give this one a pass. This shouldn't be done in either lobby. This one gets no exceptions, in my opinion, so we're going to get rid of that one. No, that one's down the toilet. Now the furries, okay? This is the big thing I want to talk about, because this is one of the avatar ones, yeah? This should not be allowable anywhere. I no longer care if these furries go to their little private furry lobbies. Like, if they go to Fur Hub and Furry Talk and Chill. It doesn't matter. It's still a violation. It's still sin. It's still completely depraved. One thing should not be allowable in one instance type and another instance type. Like, of this variety, it doesn't make any sense. You're still being a disgusting weirdo, you're still being a loser, and you're still proudly displaying your fetish and just your shamelessness to people. So this one absolutely gets no pass. There are no exceptions. Now, the sing or play music. An exception we always made was like, hey, if you're on stage, it shouldn't be a big issue. And I guess to this day, that's kind of still okay. If you're in private, it depends, because, like, sometimes there's specific lobbies created for, like, playing instruments. Like, I know, like, what's his name? Like, Manifesto does this little, I don't know, talent competition kind of deal with singing instruments. So it's like, obviously that's one hell of an exception. Like, you can't even compare the two. The reason why I have this picture is because that guy or girl shown just goes from lobby to lobby and just plays music as they're, through their microphone, as you could maybe see the mic lit up, and they don't talk. They just sit there and just dance their stupid music. So, like, would you really want to do that in private anyway? What's the point? So the only exception I could come up with this one is, like, yeah, maybe do it on stage and just don't be terrible and annoying about it. Now, here's an important one. The streaming or recording, right? So I want to preface this by saying, well, like, some of these can and cannot be done in private or public. Let me explain. This is a hard one to explain. So we've always had the issue with people streaming in public. That was always our problem. But should certain people, should they be allowed to stream in private either? No, they shouldn't. I want you to just pause the video real quick and go to the VRChat Twitch page right now and tell me what you see. I absolutely swear to you, the first 8 streamers are going to either be traps, furries, or just overly sexual. So should that be allowable, regardless of the lobby type? No. So I am here officially to say to you that under certain circumstances, you shouldn't be a streamer like that, no matter where you are. So these people don't get a pass. However, some streamers in public lobbies aren't so bad. An example I could give you is, like, me, I'm pretty based. Why should I get scrutiny for streaming in public if I'm gonna be preaching these commandments anyway? Well, not like I stream anymore, but you get the point. But what about other people, like the pastors that go around VRChat and stream? I think that's a good thing to get their message out to more people. As long as they're wholesome and not disgusting, I think it's not that bad. And if you want more information about this, there's actually a previous video covering this called, what is it called? Do not, I don't know. It's like one of the previous videos. It's like, do not stream snipe. Is that it? Yeah, don't stream snipe. That was explaining how one of the oldest quotes we ever had was, "We hate streamers, right? But we don't hate all of them." So it was never like a full-blown, red is dead kind of deal where if they're in public, they're automatically bad and they're automatically going to get clapped. So if that makes any sense to you, even in public, some of these streamers I could make exceptions for. And you could say I'm biased, whatever. Some people who you might know are also biased. Like some people who just happen to, lead Discord or stream sniping Discords would have exceptions for this kind of thing as well. I'm not the only one. We had streamers who we wouldn't target because they were friends or just people we knew or people we approved of. Like, not all streamers are cringe. We really just hate the cringe ones, the really lame, just weirdos, like the femboys or the overly sexual people. Again, not to get too far off topic, but yeah, some of these people, even if they're streaming in private lobbies, should not be allowable. So this one is a little weird. You can make some exceptions, but it really depends on how the streamer is. The lobby type isn't that important. I think what matters more is what the streamer is doing. So I hope you could take that into consideration, because I know a lot of you watching are just going to be like the anti-streamer crowd. So maybe you could just think about that for a little bit and come up with your own opinions on that one. Let's not stick to that one too long. Let's move on to do not simp or white knight. Should this be allowable in private? No, because it's probably going to lead to some kind of e-dating. Should you be idolizing some basic bitches? No. It's not allowable regardless of the lobby type. I don't care if it's private or not. This is one of these examples where the lobby type definitely does not matter. This should not be allowable in any circumstance. So e-dating is always going to be a bad thing. So this one, nope, sorry. No exceptions for you. Now, the be or look lewd thing. This one in particular, I think, is why, here, let me show you again, why the old book had the do not in public, or do not do these in public, right? And I want to explain some things about this. So obviously, people like to do some virtual things in this game, if you know what I mean. Obviously, you're not allowed to do it in private, and you shouldn't, or excuse me, in public, and you shouldn't be doing that kind of thing in public anyway. Like, that's disgusting. It's horrible. Don't do it. So I believe that's the main reason we added that do not do these in public to begin with, yeah? So with that being said, to be honest, I don't think you should be doing this in private either. Not only that, but if you read the rules like the TOS, it actually states that you're not allowed to have these lewd avatars anywhere. Doesn't matter if it's public or private. Like, you were just simply not allowed to upload lewd NSFW avatars. So again, lobby type doesn't matter. And if you're going to do these things, maybe just keep it a secret, Don't ask, don't tell, kind of thing. And just keep it under wraps. Yeah, so my best suggestion is, don't do it. There's really no reason to. I don't recommend it. Just get yourself a girl IRL. And if you absolutely must do this in-game, don't tell anyone. Yeah, that's my best recommendation. So with that being said, I think we've done a pretty good job of going over these one by one. So what do you guys think? Do you think some of the exceptions I have said are allowable? Do you think some of these should be allowed? Do you think a person should still be able to be a furry, even in private, or like a public furry lobby? Think about that. This video is very important because of that. So don't ever forget. And as a general rule, I'll just say this to finish off the video. These are general guidelines. No one is really going to follow all of these at all times in all lobby types, and that's okay. But if you're a man of dignity, or even a, self-proclaimed crusader of types, the avatar thing is never allowable in any circumstance whatsoever. Now, when we say these things, obviously we always use the coin terms of, like, consistency and unironically, right? So it's like, as long as you're not doing it consistently or unironically, then you should be okay. An example would be, if you have, like, an avatar you use that just happens to be a girl that you need, that flies around or crashes people, that's a rare exception we would allow. That's totally allowable. But you have these guys, like these little client monkeys, who are always in that avatar, and they're usually in front of the mirror, and they're like, oh, I'm in this avatar because it's a crasher. See, there has to be, you have to pay attention to, like, the subtle differences, right? Like, take, for example, you have one guy who would normally be a guy avatar, and then if he wants to crash someone, he switches to the avatar, gets the job done, and then switches back. And then you have the second guy, like the guy earlier, who's just always in the same lolly avatar. Whether it's a crasher or not, he just says, oh, it's a crasher, so he just stays in it. That's not allowable. That's not allowable. Okay? So don't forget what I said today. This is a very important video. This might actually be one of the last videos on this channel, because as far as I'm aware, this is the last bit of information that needed to be covered. So, with that being said, I believe I have covered all of these. Just keep in mind about these exceptions. There will always be exceptions. There have been exceptions since day one, and that's totally okay. But I'm here to tell you today that you will never make an exception for the avatar thing, for the aside from the slight example I gave earlier, like the crashing thing. Obviously, you can never consistently be in furry avatars, lewd avatars, or cross-gender for any reason. So, if you run around and say you're doing it as a joke or as a meme, and you're always in the girl avatars, no pass, sorry, you're just in denial at that point. Yeah, you got the soy. It's in your brain. And you better recognize that. I'm here to make you aware that you are mentally ill and you're in denial. Now, I hope all of you have been doing well. If you have any questions, well, figure it out. Yeah? Have a good one.